Hold up, sisters and brothers, sons and daughters of the sun. Please wait at cotton picking, down home. Delta Mississippi blues, fried chicken, baked chicken, smothered chicken, collard greens, cabbage greens, cornbread, black-eyed peas, pinto beans, sweet potato pie, and mom's apple pie minute. Once again, Ma'at Hotep, Namaste, Namaskar, Ubuntu, Harambe. I'm Brother Mwanga, Sadaka Muntu Nemsayu, and I thank you for wisely interconnecting and gathering and ingesting the red pill of accurate knowledge and truth, highly and heavily seasoned with unconditional love, so as to psychotherapeutically experience and bear witness to another awesome and amazing, mind-quaking, soul-shaking, spirit-stirring, eye-opening episode of Purge, Purify, and Renew Your Minds. Coming to you from the backwoods, muddy waters, sugar ditches, mosquito swamps, dirt roads, railroad tracks, rattlesnake plantations, cotton fields, mockingbirds, and magnolia trees of Delta, of Greenville and Delta, Mississippi. Once again, for those of you who may not know and may not have yet heard it through the cosmic community grapevine, the Purge, Purify, Renew Your Mind is not only, the primary purpose is not only to purge, purify minds, but to enlighten minds, to empower minds, to elevate minds, to enrich, enhance, and transform as many lives for the better. Brothers and sisters, with all that being said, our subject for today is, what is a spell? What is a spell? Think over that. And most time, many of us, we have been socially engineered and programmed, and and we mostly think of a spell as being something negative, something only low vibrational. We may think of a witch or witches, gather around a big old pot and stirring something in a pot. You may have a black, so-called black cat on her shoulder, and so forth and so on. But our topic, as I stated, is, what is a spell? And that's a question. What is a spell? So my intentions are to be quick but not to hurry. But before I proceed any further, I'd like to give a shout out to Brother Willie Mike Check Colbert and his MC Productions. And without his knowledge and expertise, this program and these videos would not be possible. So I give a shout out to Brother Mike Check and MC Production. And I also like to give a thanks to some brothers and sisters who I call my teachers. And some names I may not say, but all of the people that are in my life, past and present, they are my teachers. So I give a shout out to my elder teacher, Sister Viola Hinton, 81 years old. Sister Viola right now is living in the state of Florida. And she and I, along with her husband, has already made his spiritual transition, in about 20 some years ago, we did a lot of community work here in Greenville, Mississippi. And so we were on the cutting edge of, at that time, in the Piscean age, trying to bring forth this accurate knowledge and information that our people were lacking in, that they had not been exposed to. So I give a brief shout out to Sister Viola once again. I give a shout out to my brother, I call him my spiritual twin brother here in the Greenville community, Brother Khalif. Brother Khalif Zafnap Pa'anil El. He has a title there, I think it's Choctaw Cherokee King Commander High Priest Khalif. So I give a shout out to my brother. I give a shout out to Master Teacher 33 in Texas. I think it's San Antonio, Texas. Dr. Will Rogers. I consider him one of my great teachers also. I give a shout out to Queen Goddess Lakeisha Williams. I think she, her residence is in San Antonio, Texas also, or certain part of Texas. I may be incorrect on that. She deal a lot with the tarot cards and other vital and necessary information that we as a people need. So I give a shout out to her. I give a shout out to one of my local brothers here. I consider him my teacher, Brother Kansu Ampu Waset. I give a shout out to Brother Tafidi, who's in, I think, the state of Memphis. I give a shout out to Brother Rodney Williams, Imhotep Amin Ra. I give a shout out to some of my Facebook teachers, Sister Farasha. I think she's in Chicago. I mean, I could go on and on. Sister Carol Baker, I think she's in Texas. I mean, the list is so extensive, but these are my brothers and sisters. These are my teachers. And so with their spirit and the spirit of our ancestors, and we are our ancestors, I ask for proper guidance to work through me to expound on our topic today. What is a spell? And briefly, a spell, any spell, is a manifestation of a thought. A spell is a manifestation of a thought. A spell is a spiritual seed, right, of energy, of a rate of vibration. A spell is also creative. And as I stated earlier, most time we think of a spell, we only think about the so-called negative side. And the word spell, just like the word attitude and many other words, they have a positive and a so-called negative aspect. So when we talk about a spell being a manifestation of a thought, right? So a spell in this instance can be either low vibrational or high vibrational. And moreover, as a thought, a manifestation and expression of a thought. What is a thought? A thought is a frequency. A thought is a photonic light particle or wave or impulse of frequency and so forth and so on. So with that brief definition of a spell and of a thought, we want to endeavor to answer the question, what is a spell? What is a spell? And as I said, a spell could be either so-called negative, right? So-called bad, so-called low vibrational. And at the same time, a spell could be positive, high vibrational. But the bottom line We all are spell casters. Whether we conscious of it or not, we all are spell casters and casting spells on a daily basis. Whether we are conscious of it or not. And in this society, or what Dr. John Henry Clark called a brainwashed society, our minds, once again, I keep reiterating, our minds have been socially engineered and programmed. And most times when we as a people and people in general are making interpretations or analysis of themselves and of others, the context is limited. The context has already been framed, right? And we make our analysis, or we form our self-image of ourselves, or what we may call our self-psychology, is detrimental to ourselves. And we have no knowledge or understanding that we have been programmed. And as Dr. Clark stated, this society, on a national level, matter of fact, on a local level, a state level, regional level, national level, and globally, it brainwash its inhabitants. And what I'm saying with that, this brainwashing is the context, along with all of its various institutions. And it's a low vibrational framework that manipulates, right, and what I call twists the mentality of its inhabitants. For what? For social domination, exploitation, degradation, and control. Think over that. So I maintain that our minds have been ambushed. Our psychology, our thinking, what we call our thinking, it has been skillfully manipulated and given to us. And I know many of us because I know us, and I have talked to many of us. I have observed us. And regardless of how conscious we are, many of us are in denial that our minds have been twisted. And I ask the question, or I make the statement, how could we be in the condition, in the position that we find ourselves day in and day out, if our minds have not been tampered with, have not been twisted against our best interests? And most of us may say, well, I'm in control of my mind. I make the choices and decisions that I make based on my own thinking, based on my own belief. And just engage in a little dialogue, we should ask ourselves, how did you come to believe what you believe? Did you do any homework? Did you engage in any research, ongoing research, investigation? Did you sit in quiet meditation and reflection? Did you do what the first Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, 21st verse of the so-called Bible instructed us to prove all things? Which means to go beneath and beyond the surface of all superficialities, to dig and dive deep, to dive beneath the surface. I mean, we got a lot of questions that we should be asking ourselves as individuals and as a people. And as I stated, and I would continue to say and state, that we are operating consciously and unconsciously, and most time, majority of the time, unconsciously, with low vibrational thoughts. And these low vibrational thoughts have been skillfully have implanted in our minds since childhood. And I go even further to say in the womb of our mothers. Because as a fetus in the so-called bag of water in the womb of our mother, and we know sound travels on water, right? So the pain, the hurt, the social conditions, and so forth and so on of the mother is transferred to us as a child in the womb. And I maintain that to various degrees, each of us experience what we may call heaven or hell in the womb of our mothers. It's just that deep. And I state this also. When we talk about health, or when we read certain health information, or information that's related to health, we know and we find, or we are told, that there's fecal matter, yes, in our colon that's been there since childhood. So I'm saying and making an analogy that like the fecal matter that's still in our colon since childhood, this low vibrational programming is in our consciousness, is in our subconscious mind. And we replay and replay the programming over and over in our lives. And most of us, to one degree or another, have no idea that we have been programmed, that we have been skillfully socially engineered. Wow. Think over this, brothers and sisters. Here's some examples. Okay, we said a spell is a manifestation of a thought. And a spell can be either what I call, biblically speaking, demonic or angelic. And I said that this society brainwashes its inhabitants, right, for social, economic, political domination or exploitation, degradation, and control. That's the context. And all these various institutions function and operate to achieve that goal. So when you look at a spell, or some words that are synonymous with the definition and meaning of a spell, is trance. I'm looking at a card here. Trance, incantation, enchantment, or enchant, fascinate, charm, enchant. All these, and their meaning is, to one degree or another, is a spell. It's a spell. Whether it be song, music, it's a spell. They casting spells. Fashion is a spell. The falsification of history is a low vibrational spell. And the greatest spell, the most powerful one, along with history, is the religious spell. The religious low vibrational spell. We're going to get back to that. Distraction is a low vibrational spell. The so-called nigger mentality is a low vibrational spell. Manipulation is a low vibrational spell. The very language that we speak is a low vibrational spell. And we can go on and on. And I said music is a low vibrational spell. In the context of this society, and in most places throughout the world. And we stated on some previous episodes that the planet Earth, Mother Earth, is a prison house. We on lockdown. Our minds on lockdown. We under a spell. And many brothers and sisters, as I stated again and again and again, will deny this. Or it might say, well, religiously or theologically speaking, well, the European or the people who classify themselves as white, because I've never seen a white person, and neither have you. They are the lower three dimensions, lower three chakras of us as an original people. Okay, let's go with that. That may be true. We can use that as making an analogy, or searching and seeking for an answer, right? Or a fact of truth that's validate and substantiate what we may be experiencing. But it's still, even if we accept that and work with that, that don't free us from our duty and responsibility to raise ourselves up, to break the shackles of our mind, to call Lazarus, who's not dead, but dead light, within ourselves, laying in a mental grave of so-called death, a mental grave of ignorance, and so forth and so on. Here's a book. Are You Under Spell? Powerful book, 1 out of many. Are You Under Spell? The Master Plan Revealed by Brother Ambassador Asar. Okay. He says on page 12 of this powerful, informative book, and I know many of us, even those who call and consider ourselves conscious, we don't read, and we don't like to hear other people read to us. We want to hear, and we are more than an oral people, just the sound. And I continue to say that one of the greatest monuments that's still existing for thousands of years on the planet, the pyramids. The pyramids were constructed with intellectual and spiritual knowledge, intellectual and intuitive knowledge and truth. We must become more, return to what I call whole-brainedness. Here's a classic example, and I know most of you and many of you have seen episodes of the Star Trek movie and Star Trek Enterprise when it used to come on that series. When I was growing up on the television tube, the one-eyed monster. Dr. Bones was dominated by his emotions, his feelings. Okay, so he was operating one hemisphere of his brain only. Dr. Spock, who was rational, very analytical, he was dominated by that aspect. So neither one of them were the captain of the ship. What made Captain Kirk the captain of the ship? because he was more whole-brainedness than Dr. Bones or Spot, because he had a balance of his left hemisphere and his right hemisphere. He had more balance and harmony between the two, and that made him the captain of the ship. And this is where we are as a people. We must recapture our minds. And I know, once again, I keep saying it over and over, that many of us and most of us will say, oh, my mind is not enslaved. My mind is free. My mind is liberated, and so forth and so on. But Dr. Clark, Dr. Chancellor Williams, and many other scholars, regardless of ethnicity, have said the greatest conquest of European people and so-called Arab people, in particular so-called European people, people who classify themselves and define themselves as white. That's a political construct. But these scholars have said the greatest conquest of European people over so-called Aboriginal equivalent African people has been and is the conquest of our minds. The conquest of our minds. And we are in denial that our minds have been conquered. But the beauty of it, the divine beauty of it, when we come out of denial, we can recapture our minds. We can reawaken the divine mind that we have, each of us have. But we must come out of denial. Steve Biko informed us that the most powerful or potent weapon of the oppressor, and I say any oppressor, is the mind of the oppressed. The most powerful weapon of any oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. It's not guns, tanks, bombs, and missiles. The most powerful weapon is the mind of an oppressed person or people. Think over that, brothers and sisters. Think over that. We are not here to play, to dream, to drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. So purge, purify, and renew your mind. The primary purpose is to enlighten minds, empower people, enrich, elevate, enhance, transform as many lives as possible for the better. But I drifted a little, but it's all interrelated. Brother Saw says in his definition of a spell is a repetitive thought, suggestion, or feeling activated in the subconscious mind through chanting, songs, prayers, monotonous speech, or words spoken, and actions performed that resonate to the conscious mind purposely or unknowingly to generate an automatic response or future response to the quote-unquote victims thinking in or behavior. A spell is cast into the subconscious mind, the subconscious thought pattern, and manifests itself as habits, cravings, longings, desires, needs, and control parameters, Moreover, he says, control parameters are created by spells cast because once under a spell of enchantment, your thinking becomes temporarily captivated. Thus, your behavior responses are easily predicted and controlled. That's his definition of a spell. And we are under spell. People are under spell. We cast spells, each of us, consciously or unconsciously, every day. And spells, we know repetition is the mother of all learning. So some of the things I'm saying are on purpose, repetitiously. A spell is either, biblically speaking, once again, demonic or angelic, low vibrational or high vibrational. And in this society, I'm sort of closing out. In this society, this cultural apparatus in its institutions, we are socially engineered and conditioned to manifest and express low vibrational thoughts, which creates low vibrational lifestyles, habits, and patterns, whether we conscious of it or not. So moving right along, brothers and sisters, just want to show some books here. This book is called Spell Caster by it seems to be 3 or 4 different authors: Martin Duffy, Anna Franklin, Morgan, I can't hardly see that, Sid Beraven, and a couple others. But the title of the book is Spell Caster. Spell Caster. Check that book out. Check that book out. Are You a Spell? Check that book out. Get that book. I didn't mention this book. I said it on a previous episode. Classic book by one of our great scholars, warriors, Dr. Amos Wilson. The Falsification of Consciousness, Eurocentric History, Psychiatry, and the Politics of White Supremacy. Get this book. Get all of Dr. Wilson's books. Here's another book. Dumbing Down, Reflections on the Miseducation of the So-Called Negro. Get that book. Here's the classic book, The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. The book was written in 1933. The book is still in print. The book is still relevant for today, for each of us, and for all of us today. The power of your subconscious mind. The power of your subconscious mind. Your mind and my mind, by Professor Joseph Murphy. Get this book. Get all these books and more. And as I stated, many of us, and we as a people, and people in general, we've been conditioned away from reading. And many of us, we may say, oh, I read. I'm conscious. I hear, I learn better through listening, through the sound. All that may be true, but it don't stop you from reading. I mean, bring all the various aspects of learning into a wholeness, or to a point to enhance learning, to re-educate the mind. Classic book, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor James Williamson. He was an ancestor now, and Dr. Wilson also is an ancestor, great ancestor. Dr. Carter G. Woodson is a great ancestor, But this book, I forgot the year it was printed, and I won't waste time trying to look in here to see, but it was originally printed by Third World Press. And the subtitle is Great Issues of a race from 4,500 BC to the year 2000 AD. We passed 2000. It's 2021. You know, many of us, every year that comes about, this is a new year. We should not be like things should have changed for the better. But things will not change for the better unless we make it change for the better. You know, you may read in your religious book, there's a statement that says something like, God or Allah will not change the condition of a people until first they change it themselves. And biblically speaking, you know, it said the divine force and power is always standing and waiting. But we must get in front. We must take the lead. God, this force and power and intelligence that we call God, works through men and women. It works through us. So if we don't do anything, or we don't do what we need to do, well, God is doing that also. It's impossible for that divine source or spirit that's within us to do other than what we do. Think over that. It's impossible. A powerful book. You probably can't get it on Amazon. I think it used to be, but you probably have to order it directly from the author, like I did. And I think this book, which is powerful and it's classic, and it needs to be read and understood and talked about. I think it probably costs $25, but the name of the book is The Black People's Matrix, second edition. How black minds have been socialized to benefit a white society. That's the subtitle by Franklin Jones. And there's a lot of information and some chapters and paragraphs that I have underlined, but because we don't like to read and don't like to hear other people read, I won't read it. And I'm even referring to some of us conscious people who profess to be conscious. Some people that I talk to on a daily basis. Some people that I know personally and don't know. But listen to them and have read them. You know, we don't read. It's an availability of pervasive availability of knowledge and information is like gold and diamond at our feet at this time, and we know nothing of it. And even those of us who know of it, we don't digest it. We don't do, biblically speaking, once again, we don't eat the book. We must eat the book. We must eat the knowledge to make it become a part of our bloodstream. That it becomes one with us and we become one with it. And that which we don't need, well, you cast it away. You cast it away. Yeah, we eat physical food like that. Matter of fact, we eat everything. Our mouth wasn't just made to consume food. Just to eat every day, every minute, every damn hour. Then we complain, many of us, most of us, in different degrees, myself included. Then, my stomach done got big, I done got fat, I need to lose some weight. And know damn well we ain't gonna do what it takes to lose no weight. Just talk. But I'm hurting, I'm suffering, I'm paining. Well, what are we gonna do? And earlier I was talking to another brother. I don't know if he here today or in the room, the studio with me or not. But you know, we was talking about how some of us, we badmouth others. And we profess to be concerned and trying to help them. And most times we are concerned. But when we acquire an ounce of knowledge, accurate knowledge and truth, it must be when we disseminating it to others, It must be, as I keep saying, highly and heavily seasoned with unconditional love. Because if you chastising yourself and you chastising others and you bringing forth the result of your study, the results of your homework, of your accurate knowledge and truth, and if you truly understand it, it won't allow you to beat others up under the label that you're helping them. You'll be able to chastise them, chastise yourself, but it'll be highly seasoned, highly heavily seasoned with unconditional love. If not, then we don't understand the knowledge that we have received, the truth that we have received. Because if it's not authentic understanding and along with authentic love, then that knowledge, regardless of how accurate it is, that knowledge and truth is doing more harm than good. That accurate knowledge and truth in this instance will be like a weapon that's causing more destruction instead of raising people up. Think over that. And this is what some of us do, whether it be family members in the home, friends and other associates. We do it I see it on Facebook. But we say that we not on the spell. You know, many of us, oh, my mind is free. Oh, I'm not following the direction and the dictates of the larger society. You're lying. You're fooling yourself. You're in denial. Another book. I'm crisscrossing. I'm mixing it up, chopping it up, slicing and dicing. I mean, you call it what you want to call it. Light from Ancient Africa. And this particular book is another booklet, a pamphlet. Great booklet and pamphlet from one of our esteemed psychologists. He's an elder now, Dr. Naeem Akbar. Many of you may know of his books and his work, but this is another classic. Know thyself. Know thyself. And as I stated on a previous episode, Dr. Naeem Akbar, in his early growth and development, of his work, he took the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, as a premise, as a foundation to build his work. And Dr. Carter G. Woodson informed us, and many others, that we have been miseducated. We have been miseducated against our best interests. And education and training are not synonymous. We've been trained just like you train a dog or a seal or any animal to do tricks and so forth and so on. We've been trained. Because the primary purpose of education of any people is to help ensure their biological existence. If it doesn't do that, then that so-called education or training, right, is miseducation. Is miseducation. And that's what we have received in this concrete jungles of North America. And I have said over and over again, we in denial. We in denial that our minds have been tampered with, that our minds have been twisted And as long as we continue to, as a people, to be in denial, then it's a spiritual, mathematical, scientific impossibility for us to ever be liberated and experience what we call salvation. It's impossible. It's impossible. I don't know how much time I got left on this episode. I might be over time, under time, but I'm just talking, and eventually I'm gonna wine and dine and wrap it up, slow it up, slow roll it. I mean, there's so many ways of saying it. Here's another book. I guess this might be the last one, or close to the last one, that I will try to highlight. It's another classic book, and I think that was the last book of Dr. Amos Wilson, The Psychology of Self-Hatred and Self-Defeat Towards a Reclamation of the African Mind. And you may say, as individuals, and once again as a people, oh, I don't hate myself. And my response would be, my initial response would be, the proof is in the pudding. When we look around at our individual, so-called individual and collective position and condition, it's a manifestation, an expression of self-hatred, not love. Because an African proverb says, not to know is bad, not to want to know is worse. And also that in order to truly love self or one's people, one must possess and know and understand and practice authentically accurate knowledge and truth, because it's impossible to truly love that which you don't know from the human perspective. It takes accurate knowledge and truth to truly love, even to truly love oneself. So if one's consciousness has been falsified and the accurate knowledge and truth of self is not known and is suppressed and covered up and hidden, how can you truly love self? It's impossible. But we're in denial to that truth, to that fact. The Psychopathic Racial Personality and Other Essays by Dr. Bobby E. Wright. And Dr. Bobby E. Wright made his spiritual transition in 1982. And he has other papers and writings that we need to read and know and understand and to live. But Dr. Bobby Wright coined the word menticide. And the word menticide, his definition of the word that he coined, was the deliberate and systematic destruction of a person's or people's mind for ultimate extermination. Think over that. That's his definition of the word he coined. The deliberate and systematic destruction of a people's minds, whether they know it or not, for ultimate extermination. And briefly, some of you may ask, oh, how is this happening? Well, it happens through the institutions. Those who control and dominate and determine how institutions function, operate. That's how menticide is happening, whether you're conscious of it or not. It's going on day in and day out. It's going on in your religious institution. It's going on in as you watch your Netflix, your TV, the commercials, the programs. Listen to the word. The programs that you watch, that we watch. That's how the programming against our best interest, interest happens. This is how it happens. It goes on constantly. It's every day, 24/7. School system. Oh, go to school and get a good education. Well, what is the contents of the education? Is it the kind of knowledge and information that your children, our children need? Or the information that they get or receiving that is helping to perpetuate the best interests of the larger society who don't have your best interests at heart and our best interests at heart? These are questions that a free-minded, enlightened mind people would be asking and doing something about it. And following that definition, or brief definition of education, that its primary purpose is to ensure the information, the knowledge that a child or people receive. It should effectively ensure that people, a person, can ensure their biological existence. Because if they can't ensure their biological existence, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Because if you, I, or whoever is not here, what's going on here don't matter. We are under a spell. So do some homework, do some investigation. And so that we can sit down and have a dialogue, a conversation, and discussion based on we are under spell and what can be done. And we're not just only under spell, we're under a demonic spell. Because the larger society and all of its institutions since its birth in relationship to so-called black people, African people, Aboriginal people, Alkebulan people, right? Brainwashes us, conditions us, socially engineer us to have low vibrational, so-called bad, so-called negative, demonic thoughts. And its inhabitants in general, but particularly and specifically us, it works double-fold. So if your thoughts are low vibrational, as I stated earlier, the thoughts, those low vibrational thoughts are creating, manifesting, and expressing and establishing low vibrational conditions, a low vibrational lifestyle, a low vibrational patterns that we call our daily life. It can't be any other way. So we are all our spell casting. And the question is whether we are spell casting low vibrational or demonic spells or angelic spells. We need to sit down and do some self-analysis with accurate knowledge and truth, as I continue to say. And as I wrap this episode up, many of you and many of us are familiar with the biblical verse in the book of St. John, where it says, know the truth. I think it's St. John 8 chapter 32nd verse. You can correct me, but it's in the book of St. John. Know the truth. We've heard it over and over. Many of us say it almost every day, verbatim, or we hear someone else say it. Know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And I maintain, and I'm saying at this time, that the accurate knowledge and truth, highly and heavily seasoned with unconditional love, that the frequency, the vibration of unconditional love is the sledgehammer to break all low vibrational spells. So if we're seeking to break the low vibrational spells that are on the mentality or the psychology of our minds as so-called individuals and as a people, then we will seek to acquire accurate knowledge and truth, highly and heavily seasoned with unconditional love. That's if we are sincere. And I stated earlier, or some other time, to another brother, just in a conversation, that the primary purpose of what Purge and Purify Your Mind seeks to do is float like a butterfly. And I'm not saying this as Muhammad Ali, I'm just using that phrase, float like a butterfly, sting like a hornet, and strike like a cobra. So these episodes, this episode, the ones before, and as we continue to unfold and make progress and forward motion, upward and onward, Purge, Purify, and Renew Your Mind will be striving wholeheartedly, sincerely, to float like a butterfly, sting like a hornet, and strike like a cobra with the dissemination of accurate knowledge and information that we need, whether we're in denial or not. And in closing, brothers and sisters, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for my earlier so-called rambling, trying to find a way and trying to allow an opening for the ancestors to speak through me, because we are our ancestors. Our ancestors are us. So our ancestors are not someone spaced out somewhere that we're not in touch and in tune with, because we still have the physical, biological, and spiritual genetic line linkage, whether they're in the flesh or not. We still are one people. We still are a people. So our ancestors in truth dwells within us. And if we have fallen asleep or been hit in the head to the consciousness that our ancestors are in us, then they are truly dead. Because we are dead in consciousness. We are under a demonic spell. And the power that we need, the power to liberate ourselves, to raise ourselves up, is suppressed and buried in a shallow grave within ourselves. And in closing, I also want to say that we are already, each of us as an individual and as a people and people in general, you're already whole. You're already fully equipped. Put it in street terms, you're already fully loaded. You're born that way. It's already inside of you. The divine power is you. You don't have to go and search and look for it. I don't have to go and search and look for it. But I must return like the prodigal son to the consciousness of my oneness with the Father, with the parents, the parent divinity. See, we have lost the consciousness of our wholeness. And I stated on another occasion that facts and truth are not the same. Some facts are in line with truth, But there are some facts and many facts that we know of continue to change. So facts are not the truth of us. Facts are not the truth of us. Wholeness is the truth of us. Wholeness in any aspect of our lives that we may want to look at and examine. That's the truth of us. And I gave an example earlier, talking to another brother. He may be here today, he may not be here right now. But his spirit is here. I may not have $1 in my pocket. I may not have $1 in my so-called bank account. May not have $1 at home. That may be a fact. But I can leave MC production and walk out the door, and that could change. So the point that I'm getting at, we should not allow our minds to focus on the facts, even if it's a fact at the time. I should be, well, my wholeness in this instance, that I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm abundance. My health may be lacking in a low level way, but that's a fact. But that fact can change. So the truth of me is health. The truth of you is health. So we should elevate our thoughts and our thinking to the angelic realm, to the God realm, which is wholeness. And I think I'm recalling right now real quickly, I may not be making the quote exact, but you can check it out and do the homework and verify and validate and substantiate whether it's accurate or not. Reverend Knight. Yeah, Reverend Knight. He knew mind science. He knew divine science. And he made a statement. I think it goes something like this. That the word of God is the image of God. And the image of God is whole. Think over that. Meditate on that as we close out. The word of God is the image of God. And the image of God is wholeness. So if you and I are created, biblically speaking, in the image of God, and the word of God in the image of God is wholeness, then the truth of us is wholeness in every area and aspect of life. All we need to do is start waking up. And as we wake up to the historical knowledge and truth of ourselves and our identity, and then with the spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric truth, will raise us up, the historical truth, embrace, internalize, will wake us up, the spiritual knowledge and truth, understood and practice and live, will raise us up. Those are the two pillars of ascension that we need, and that's available to us today in this glorious age of what they call the Aquarian age of 2,160 years. And it's an age of a golden age of spiritual awareness, unity consciousness, prosperity for all, better health, truth, knowledge, understanding, and so forth and so on. So we are in and on the cutting edge of a great time of energies and frequencies that are available to us and for us for our liberation and salvation as humanity, and especially so-called black humanity. everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. No one stays the same. The young becomes the old, and mysteries do unfold, because that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring, a wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything will change. The young becomes the old, and mysteries do unfold, because that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. And I say, and this is a quote from the Buddha, and Buddha was a title. The proper name of that person, one of the Buddhas, was Siddhartha Gautama. Look it up. But Buddha is a title that simply means one who has awakened, the enlightened one. That's a title, just like Christ is a title. One who is the anointed. These are titles. These are not surnames. These are titles of spiritual awakening, spiritual growth and development that we all have the potential to achieve. But it says, do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious or spiritual books or any book. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. But after close observation and analysis, when you find that anything and everything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good, the benefit of one and all, then accept it and live it. The naked truth is always better than the best dressed lie. An African proverb, as I said earlier, a minute ago, not to know is bad, not to want to know is worse. Our great ancestor, scholar, warrior, social activist, and writer, James Baldwin said, and I'm not looking at what he professed to be his gender or not, his lifestyle, I'm not talking about that, but he was still a great ancestor. He's a great ancestor now. And he was concerned about our awakening. Right? He said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Think over that. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And in closing, brothers and sisters, thank you once again. Thank Willie Colbert. I'm looking in this direction. I don't know if he's there or not, but I'm looking in this direction. Brother Willie, he said on his name, not Will, but Willie Colbert, mic check, MC Production, for his knowledge and mastery and expertise to make purge, purify, and renew your mind possible in the videos that we are doing. And as we say, I stated before, masterpiece in the making. And I'm saying that it's already a masterpiece, or masterpieces, but it's still unfolding, still being cultivated, still being developed, and is yet to fully bloom and blossom. But the seed of mastery is already there. The masterpiece as a seed is already there. So it's being nurtured and nourished in order to, so it can unfold and bloom and blossom. Think over that. But every shut eye isn't closed, and every goodbye isn't gone. Every shut eye isn't closed, and every goodbye isn't gone. We are not here to play, to dream, to drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. And I used to be able to say in closing, and I'm still closing. I'm still talking, but I'm closing. You know the poem or the movie with Morgan Freeman, Invictus? And the word invictus, really not in a regular dictionary right now. It's a sort of archaic word or obsolete word. But invictus means, if you look it up in an etymology dictionary, it means that which cannot be defeated. That which is unconquerable. I guess I'm getting tongue-tied, and I guess my throat getting dry. I guess my mind, too many eagles and pigeons and pigs trying to get out at the same time. But that which cannot be defeated. And it goes something like this. It's a poem, out of the night, that covers me. And you can add us, and you can say me, referring to yourself, and think about us collectively. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods there be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced or cried out aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is blooded but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the minutes of the years shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment to stroll. I am the master of my faith. I am the captain of my soul. Peace and love.